The United Kingdom and Ireland World Update for Microsoft Flight Simulator has finally been released. Today we'll be talking about World Update 3 for Microsoft Flight Simulator, what it brings, and the pros and cons of this update. Let's get into it. Hello YouTube, I'm Pilot Stud, and my goodness, doesn't that look amazing with the double rainbow here? Although I'm scared we're getting too close to the mountain, although we'll be fine. Now today we'll be talking about the beautiful UK World Update that was dropped on February the 16th, which on the day of filming was yesterday, and it has massively improved the United Kingdom. To a certain extent, it's worse in places and better in places, but we'll get to that in a minute. Now, the United Kingdom and Ireland have two of the most prominent European cultures, of which have undeniably shaped civilization, for good and bad. This is shown off most by its architecture. From medieval castles to ancient monuments, you can really see history in the United Kingdom and Ireland, and this update has certainly graced that. So if you haven't already downloaded this update, here's some things you need to do. Delete all of your add-ons out of your community file, because chances are they will break, especially with the A320NX. If you do want to keep the A320NX by the amazing flybywire team, then you need to swap over from the stable version to the development version. This does work, I've tested it already. I did a flight from Liverpool to Belfast City Airport earlier in the day. That's all you really need to do before the update, then just download it. I recommend you put it on an SSD if you want faster loading times, but of course it's not a necessity. Now while we look at that beautiful double rainbow, let's take a look into what this update has brought. It's brought 5 new handcrafted airports, of which the default ones were basically updated. These are Liverpool John Lennon Airport, Outer Skerries, which is in Scotland, Barrow, which is also in Scotland, Land's End Airport, which by its name is right on the tip of England, and Manchester City or Barton Airfield. Now all of these are very unique in themselves. Sadly, only one major international airport, which is in stark contrast to the Japan and even USA World Updates, so I was a bit let down here, but these are all crafted excellently. The sad news is many of you may have payware or freeware scenery with these airports, and I'll leave that to you if you want to weigh up each of these. But I do think they're all brilliant. My favourite would be Liverpool. We've even got an interior there. Now we've also got a fantastic amount of points of interest. Here's some on the screen now. We've got over 73 points of interest, from the BT Tower to Canary Wharf, the Palace of Westminster to Buckingham Palace, to Warwick Castle and Windsor Castle. Now I will say one thing, looking on the world map, you can see these are quite unevenly distributed, with most in the south of England, none in my home area of the east of England, which is a massive letdown, because there's plenty of beautiful locations around here. However, saying that, they seem to have done a pretty good job of making sure that the 4 nations of the United Kingdom, and of course Ireland, all have a nice amount of points of interest. But once again, this tips towards England, which is a bit annoying, but seeing as the biggest population, therefore biggest audiences there, it does make sense. So here we are, flying over the city of Brighton to show you some of the custom points of interest. You can see in the background there we've got the i360, which is a moving observation deck, I believe, and it's even owned by British Airways. And we've also got Brighton Pier there, which is a very big VFR landmark, and it looks very nice. So plenty of landmarks have been added, and they're all over the place. I've done a video on it, so you guys can go watch that if you really want to. Now looking at the back, you can also see that the clouds are drastically improved. No more horrible pixelation, film pixels, whatever they're called. They have sorted that out, and I have to say they look spot on. The clouds really do look superb now. Hopping back into the cockpit of the Cessna, you can see the clouds have really paid off. They look absolutely stunning, absolutely spot on now. Now, in addition to the 73 points of interest, you guys can check out the rest if you really want to, because we'd be here all day if I were to go through all of them. We've also got 5 new photogrammetry cities: London, Bristol, Cambridge and Oxford. And this is where I'm a bit sad really, because Oxford and Cambridge, I don't really like them. I do not think they look good, especially in comparison to AutoGen. I honestly prefer AutoGen. What I would prefer is the main landmarks to be remodelled as a point of interest and put in there, because because I do feel in some places the photogrammetry can look a bit sloppy, and it also has a massive FPS hit in my opinion. Now, I'm not discrediting the work that Asobo and Microsoft have done, because it is absolutely breathtaking, but I am a bit disappointed in the photogrammetry. I'm sure most of you think it looks nice, but to me, I just don't think it's 100% there. And another thing I'm slightly annoyed about is the photogrammetry in London really seems to hurt my FPS to an almost unplayable rate, creating slideshow frames over Parliament and around that area. A massive disappointment for me, I have to say. So the UK and Ireland update has made Great Britain look even greater and Ireland look very, very special in places. On top of all the points of interest, we've also got ground imagery updates and elevation updates. But once again, people have been reporting issues here. Someone was saying with the River Thames around Reading looking like in a ravine. And I mean, personally, I haven't experienced this too much. Roads are a bit funny in places, but it seems to me that it looks rather nice all around. So we've talked about the update and what it brings to the UK, but what about what it brings to the whole world? Well, we've got a few small changes with individual aircraft, etc. Let's go talk about them now. Now, oh my goodness, London from above, I mean, it looks nice, although in some places you can see the quality isn't 100% up there. Now, of course, we've got Buckingham Palace, the London Eye, all of the London bridges and Canary Wharf modelled, and from above the FPS isn't so bad, I'll admit. But you've got to remember, we're in a little Cessna in exterior view. Hopping into the inside, FPS does drop, I'll admit. Now, I think now is a good time to talk about the global update, seeing as we're in a very global city. Now, first of all, the major change is that several terrain spikes have been fixed, and by several, I'm guessing they mean most of them, because I haven't seen a terrain spike for a while. Now, these were really annoying, and they appeared to be difficulties with kind of mountainous areas. These ugly terrain spikes seem to have gone away, and my goodness, does that look a lot nicer now, because those were horrible, those were real eyesores. On top of this, water masks have been updated across various locations around the world. I guess this means major cities like the River Thames, for example. And seeing as they've worked on this city regardless, I mean, the water does look better. Now, I haven't seen any issues with water masks personally, but to be honest, I haven't had too much time to explore. So if you do have any issues with water, pop them in the comments and I'll take a read. They've also reduced the frequency of water artifacts appearing on cliffs, which is quite a small update, and of course the noise issue affecting clouds has also been reduced. VR has also received many healthy updates. Sadly, as you can see, London is almost VR unplayable for me now. I mean, I just cannot imagine how bad this would be. Really sad news, I'm afraid, because now to run London it would appear you'd need the best of the best. So as we depart from London in the beautiful Landor 747, although it's a rubbish livery to be honest, let's talk about the pros and cons of this update. Now, we've had all these standard fixes such as the navigation, database being updated, all of that, but it's been a brilliant update for the whole world as well, with those horrible cloud pixels gone to a certain extent, although it doesn't seem to be faring well with the more clouds you put on. As you can see, it's not as bad as it was, but looking behind us, they don't look 100% there yet, and as I said, it's not totally fixed. However, terrain spikes have gone, London has been completely overhauled, as well as some other cities. We've got the beautiful Liverpool John Lennon Airport up in the north, and it does look very nice. But on the other side of that, it's also been an update of negative. Sadly for me, with this update, London is quite unplayable now. Hopefully they fix it, otherwise I'm going to need a new graphics card, and I shouldn't do really, because my graphics card is almost high spec. Any developers out there, you'll also see a massive improvement with dev mode. As always, we seem to get that with every update. So there we go guys, what has been your favourite feature of World Update 3 from Microsoft Flight Simulator? Was it a favourite point of interest to yours that is local to you? Was it the cloud textures not being so grainy anymore, or was it those horrible terrain spikes going away? Put them in the comments down below, I'd love to hear them. But I'm going to wrap up this video here guys, have a fantastic day, bye bye.